Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for taking the time out to join us for this important conversation on piloting state-level committees to address the serious crisis of toxic air quality. My special thanks to my good friend, Shri T.S. Singhdeoji, Honorable Minister for Health in the government of Chhattisgarh, for bringing together this group of eminent ministers and legislators from his state on this subject in what I hope is the first in a larger campaign in the fight for clean air. As a board member and the India head of AirQualityAsia, which has organized this webinar, I thought it would be useful to begin this webinar by formally introducing the organization and its leadership who have joined us for today's call. AirQualityAsia, or AQA, is an international air quality advocacy group which has since its inception in 2016 spearheaded parliamentary and legislative action as a model towards a critical goal of securing a breathable future for Asia. With ongoing projects in a select few South Asian countries, like India, of course, Indonesia, the Philippines, AQA has in each of these countries worked to support and to bring legislators together in order to develop strong policy frameworks that can deliver measurable improvements in air quality. Today, the organization is represented by its president and convener, Ms. Shashi, Mr. Matthew J. Nolan, treasurer and board member, and prior to that, a veteran member of the Irish Parliament. AQA works with a number of partner organizations and donor groups whose support, including for this webinar, has played a critical role in enabling the organization to deliver strong results in South Asia. I'd also like to introduce and thank my fellow Fletcher School alum, Mr. Vikas Mehta and Kartikeya Singh from SED, as well as Ms. Shweta Narayan for their efforts in bringing this group together. Even as we, as a society, contend with the devastating effects of COVID-19, accompanied by the gradual unlocking of the national lockdown, one silver lining along our collective clouds has been impossible to miss, and that's been the bright blue skies and cleaner air we've all been allowed to enjoy. And the AQI, the Air Quality Index in Delhi, has actually largely remained at breathable levels. And whenever we have these monsoon showers, the air quality gets even better. But of course, this is an exception rather than the norm. And it'll be foolish on my part to celebrate our clean skies at a time when millions of our fellow citizens are suffering either directly from the pandemic or indirectly as a result of the complete slowdown in economic activity that the lockdowns have precipitated. We have to find a way of creating meaningful livelihoods for our people while giving us clean air so we can live in good health. Now, as a concerned citizen, as well as a board member of AQA and an MP, and I've personally suffered the wheezing and coughing that comes with Delhi's foul air, I thought this was a problem that was critical to our development concerns. And so each year, from 2017, when I joined the banner of AQA, 2017, 2018, 2019, I brought together a group of civil society stakeholders, healthcare experts and practitioners, technical experts, and a few fellow parliamentarians to an annual closed-door discussion on the magnitude of the current crisis of toxic air quality across India. In these 3 years, we dealt not only with the current state of air quality, but we also extended the deliberations to what we could possibly do as concerned citizens and elected representatives to create a national action plan to address the issue. And our platform since 2017 has brought together some of the most accomplished and experienced stakeholders on this issue of vital national importance. Parliamentarians across the aisle got together, and finally, last year, representatives from the government of India, including the Honorable Union Minister for the Environment, Shri Prakash Javadekar, addressed last year's gathering and gave us a comprehensive ideation of the government strategies to address air pollution. We also increasingly realize there were two fundamental deficiencies in the existing campaign for clean air. The first had to do with the lack of political and legislative capital to address the issue. In fact, the issue of air quality in some ways is like our concerns about foreign policy. I've always said that there is no BJP foreign policy or Congress foreign policy, there's only Indian foreign policy. Similarly, with air quality, our political differences on the subject must end with the beginning of the stratosphere. Once we, as breathing airs, no one can fence off the air in that we're breathing. And honestly, despite the magnitude of the crisis, it shocks me there's been so far limited action on involvement in this issue. I can tell you very frankly that in my first couple of years around table, I found it impossible to attract a BJP participant. And it was only in my third year when the minister brought onto it that we were able to move ahead. So it's been a grind. But policymakers, political outfits, think tanks, legislators, we all have to get together on this. And the honest truth is, and I was so gratified when my friend Shri T.S. Singhdeo agreed to do this, because the fact is that air quality has not been an electoral issue in India. In India, neither public health generally nor air pollution specifically has yet won or lost an election for any Indian politician. Air quality is seen as a sort of upper-class luxury. The poor can't afford it. That's not true. The poor are biggest victims of poor air. It's the poor who have no choice. Those whose lives are dominated by the need for a daily wage, the basic necessities of sustenance. For them, the air around them can really affect their lives, and they have to endure it because they have to live. So I must say that the argument that the political class can afford to ignore air quality because it doesn't affect the poor, who are the majority of voters, that is wrong. And all of us politicians listening today, we must understand the majority of our voters are victims of bad air. And it's not a class issue, it is a mass issue. And I really want to stress that very, very hard with all of us listening today, because we want to take this campaign to the political class of India, starting today with Chhattisgarh. Let me stress the need for an energized and effective campaign for clean air is also complicated by the way in which we as a country have approached the problem. The government has a very sparse sort of national clean air program, which is not terribly actionable. It covers 102 centers in a country with thousands of centers. The media just focuses on bad air during Diwali because the Diwali firecrackers make the air worse. There's no sustained engagement with a crisis that affects urban and rural India equally. We need to get beyond the New Delhi-centric narrative and begin to incorporate a more holistic approach, including from within our states that are in many ways at the front lines of this crisis. But 42% forest cover in Chhattisgarh did not save Raipur from reaching that sad position of fourth in the world, as Singhdeo pointed out. Now, you have been making improvements. We want to encourage you on the path to completely reviving Chhattisgarh's reputation as a green state and moving away from the bad news surrounding the capital city's air quality.